the fundamental purpose of why we're here is not about coming up with a program necessarily. That might happen. It's not about coming up with an absolutely agreed set of ideas. It's about trying to make sure that the struggles that are already happening in South Africa and are on the ground, that we can relate to those, organize with them, and build them. That has to be the starting point. Then the other things can come. We don't start with the program. You don't start with a prearranged set of ideas, and then you go try to relate to people. You do it the other way around. And you learn from those people, and this is what, and we're being self-critical here, at the same time, we haven't done that to the extent that we should have, right? We always think as lefties, we've got it. We know better. We're arrogant. Yeah, I'm pointing the finger here as well. We are, oftentimes. And we think that we've got the ideas, and all it's a matter of is going out there and persuading people to accept what we think. Yeah? People are much smarter than you think they are. So, the first starting point has to be, comrades, relating to real struggles, whatever they are. Whatever they are. Let's not think grand when we don't. Let me use the metaphor of building a house. I like this metaphor. If you go and you have a house there, and the foundation is rotten, and you build the first and second floors, what's going to happen? It's going to collapse eventually. It might look very nice from the outside, yeah, because it's painted. But if we do not build the foundation first, yeah, then what's the point of building a first and second floor? What's the point? So let's start with that foundation. The foundation of people, struggles, real issues. These and the social movements have helped. Let's not be totally negative. The social movements have created space. They've related there. There have been some victories. It's not all bad. It's not all necessarily bad. We have created spaces. Let's build on those kinds of spaces that are there and give it political and ideological impetus. And that's where the ideas and the intellectual discussions and other things come. And how do we relate to those? That is building the kind of house I think that we want to build. In the context of ANC and alliance politics, particularly because, as I said, we're related always to the ANC and alliance, and that continues to be the case. We need a strategy that essentially forces, unionized workers and rank-and-file ANC members themselves to respond politically to the struggles that we are making on the ground. In other words, not to persuade them by the force of argument, necessarily, because that's not going to work most of the time. You might convince a few people. But, so for example, putting those struggles in there, instead of just saying, we want to have eviction stopped, or we want to have the prepaid meters removed, and this is where certain comrades in the APF were right a long time ago, which was the one trajectory that we failed to do, was to consistently and constantly relate to workers all the time, in a strategic and tactical way. Because in the social movements, there's this tendency, and I was representative of it at one point in time, to dismiss COSATU and to dismiss the workers because of their relationship with the ANC as being in opposition to us. And that's not true. They're not in opposition to us. The leadership might be. Those who are about to become leaders and become capitalists might be, but the rank and file are not. The workers are not. And the same goes for the ANC rank and file. I was just spent 5 months up in Mbombela and Nelspruit in that area there. Despite the fact that there's been political murders and assassinations of people and the ANC is in complete mess, right? There are ANC people that are honest, that have integrity, that are trying to build certain things. They've just been completely pushed aside. And they are actually trying to work. Now if we just dismiss them and say, that the ANC, that's it, then we are losing opportunities. So in other words, we have to move down there and force to go on the offensive, take ourselves out of the shadows, repoliticize these struggles, whether they're worker struggles or community struggles and others, through parallel socialist political organization and impetus. In other words, not simply, well, let's stop the evictions, but why should we stop the evictions, and what should we do after we stop the evictions, and what do we need in place of this housing policy that is there? Yeah? Those kinds of things have to move beyond. We also have to shift our understanding and approach to who constitutes a worker. Who are workers? Yeah, who are workers? Are workers only the ones that are employed? No. Of course they're not. Are workers only the ones that are unionized? No. Workers are pretty much anyone terms of class terms, who's oppressed under capitalism. If you want to put it broadly like that. Then we can get into discussion. No, but comrades, you're missing out. There's a petty bourgeois layer, there's that layer, there's all sorts of layers. Fine. But the point being is that the constituency we want to speak to are those that are oppressed under this system. That's the point. Whether or not they are this fraction or that fraction of worker or the working class themselves. And that means bringing together the unemployed, the poor, the one we call unemployed and poor, and the unemployed together to the largest extent possible. This is a fundamental challenge of any new relevant left. And meaningful unity and commonality for what we're struggling for. There are many things here that I'm sure I will disagree with comrades who, and I know because it goes along with that doesn't mean we can't work together. It doesn't mean that, say, if you adopt that, I can't do that, unless it's totally reactionary, unless it's something completely outside a left politics, then that's understandable. But that, I assume that that's not going to happen here. So in other words, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find a commonality. We're not trying to get here to prove our political credentials and how radical we are, and argue and win the argument. We're not here to win arguments, comrades. We're here to try to find a commonality, and that is the spirit. The last few points. I plead with comrades here in this left not to repeat constantly the mistakes that we repeated in the past. Let us not put down markers that say, if we don't accept this, I'm not going to be part of this initiative.